The day in the life of a project manager. I'm like a very old school, old-fashioned to-do list person. The APM exam is certification of associate project management, and PMP is normally only have 1, maybe 2 calls on Fridays. So good morning, how are you? What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Hannah. If you're not new, welcome back. As you can tell by the title of today's video, we are filming a vlog, but a themed vlog, which I'm excited about. I feel like I very rarely film like themed vlogs. I'm more of just like a general vlogger, vlog my day-to-day life. But I thought that it would be fun for this video to film the day in the life of a project manager, aka a day in the life of what I do at my current job. This video was actually inspired by Krista Kennedy. She filmed a video a few weeks ago of like what she actually does in her day-to-day job as a data analyst, and she works in the healthcare industry, which is like very different from the industry that I work in, also just very different jobs. But I found her video so interesting and so fascinating that I thought it'd be fun to kind of create a similar video, but like the day in the life of a project manager. I also know there are like a ton of videos like this out on YouTube from other corporate girls that work different jobs, like day in the life of a social media manager, day in the life of a marketing manager, things of that sort. So just kind of putting my own little twist slash spin on this trend. As you guys know, I don't really talk too much about my job. I like to keep my corporate life and my personal life very, very separate from each other for many reasons. One, I just feel like they're two different sides of me. The corporate side of me is so different than the YouTube and social media side of me, and also just like the personal life side of me, kind of like two different caps, two different hats that I'm wearing, and also just like for safety reasons and company policy reasons. So I do keep them pretty separate from each other, and I definitely always will, whether I stay in this job or move to a different company or move to a different position. I just kind of like keeping them separate. That's just a personal choice, and I feel like I'll always stay that way. But for the sake of today's video, I am gonna give you guys like the inside scoop of what I do on a day-to-day basis as a project manager. Obviously, I won't be giving out specific details of what I'm like specifically doing, such as like who I'm having calls with or specific details about my company, things of that sort, but I can give you guys kind of like a general overview of like what a project manager does on a day-to-day basis. So let's start off with how my day is kind of structured. This could vary depending on your company, your position, your role, seniority, things of that sort, but a lot of my days are kind of driven by meetings. So if I have a day where I only have like 1 or 2 meetings, I consider that a very light work day. Whereas if I have days like today where I have 6 or 7 meetings throughout the day, that's a pretty heavy work day, and a lot of my work will revolve around the meetings, setting out notes, getting all the teams aligned, following up on action items, things of that sort. Whereas the days where I don't have meetings, that's when I do a lot of like the tedious day-to-day not fun work, such as cleaning up project plans or cleaning up Jira tickets or creating a smart sheet or following up with people. It just really depends on what's on the to-do list for that day. But today's a day where my day is kind of driven by meetings. So let's count how many meetings I have today. I actually had one earlier this morning. I had a 9:30 a.m. meeting, and then I have a noon meeting, a 1 o'clock meeting, and then meetings from 2:30 to 3:30. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have 6 meetings today, which is super fun. Honestly, this is kind of like a lighter meeting day. Some weeks I'll have meetings from literally the time I wake up until the time that I clock off of work, which is super fun to try to get other things in during the day, but it just is the nature of the job. It's kind of my job to like not only own these meeting invites, but run the meetings, make sure that the proper team members and the proper teams are on the meetings, to make sure that the meeting notes get taken and also sent out, to make sure that the proper action items are assigned to people. So that's kind of my role in regards to like what I'm doing in the meetings. And then once the meetings are over, I'll like obviously send out the notes, to people. I'll follow up on any questions or action items that were assigned to me during the meeting, and I'll make sure to update project plans if applicable, such as updating dates. I'll make sure to update Jira tickets if applicable. That's kind of the structure of my day at my current company and in my current position. I've started off in this position as an associate project manager. Technically that's still my title, but I am at this point working as a full-blown project manager. I think right now I own 5 or 6 projects that I'm managing on a day-to-day basis. I know that sounds like a lot of projects, but I feel like they kind of balance each other out, where some projects will be super busy some months and then will die down, and other projects will pick up. It really depends on priority, completion date of the overall project, completion date of certain tasks and action items on the project plan that need to get done. So that's kind of the rundown of my current role and like what my day will look like and what I'm gonna kind of take you guys through. Hopefully I explained that well. I know it's kind of all over the place. I like never know how to explain my job to people because I wear a ton of different hats and I communicate and collaborate with a ton of different teams, and I'm constantly doing a ton of different things, so it's really hard to explain what I do for my job. Like in a 3 to 4 sentence summary, I feel like my job title and like the hat that I'm wearing and my responsibility and my role really changes depending on the day. It is currently 11:30. I have a meeting at noon, so I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna prep for that meeting. What that means is that I'm going to make sure that we have an agenda set for the meeting from the team that I'm working with, and then I'm also going to go ahead and create a new notes page for that meeting. My company uses Confluence, which is an Atlassian tool. I never know how to say that. Is it Atlassian? Atlassian? I'm not sure, but it's basically a tool that a lot of companies use. It's the same company that owns Jira. If you're in project management or product management, you probably know what I'm talking about, or if you're an engineer. So we take all of our notes in Confluence. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set up the Confluence page for today's meeting, make sure that I'm aligned with the team, make sure I know who's attending to represent from each team, and kind of go from there. Also, another thing that I love to do is I love to have some sort of background show, YouTube video, podcast, or music going on in the background while I work. I very rarely work in like a completely quiet environment, so I'm just gonna pick what video that I want to run in the background before I set up this page, because I'm incapable of sitting in silence, to be completely honest. It is what it is. Second meeting of the day is completely done. Notes, action items, everything, we are all set there. It's also about that time where the hair goes up. My hair rarely stays fully down for the entire day. Yesterday I curled my hair and then it went up in a bun, I think like an hour or two later. I'm just not a hair down type of gal. I love a big cloud clip to get out of my face. Anyways, that's beside the point. I figured I would chat about how I keep track of things, my to-do list, outside of formal project plans for specific projects and action items lists. I'm like a very old school, old-fashioned to-do list person. I have this notebook that I got from a shop in New York. I'm like blanking on the name of it, but it's a bookstore that's pretty popular, but they have a branch of the bookstore that's specific for stationery, and they have these cute little skinny notebooks that I love. So I actually keep my to-do list for the week in this notebook, and I just write things down as they come up. I obviously like can't really show you guys an example of anything because it has specific items that can't be on the internet, but I essentially just write like to-do lists at the top, and then on Monday I'll write down everything that I have to do for the week, and as the week goes on I'll cross things out, I'll add things. So it's just basically like a master to-do list of things that I need to get done throughout the week. And this just seems to be what works best for me. I've tried multiple different ways of how to keep track of like my to-do list and action items. I've tried an Excel sheet, I've tried Confluence, I've tried Smartsheet, and the old school notebook with a pen or pencil just seems to be what works best for me. I don't really know why. I think it's just because I'm such a visual person, so I need something literally like right in front of my face throughout the entire day that I can cross off, that I can make scratch notes, things of that sort. So I love a good notebook with pen and pencil. Also, the fact that the notebook is aesthetic just brightens up my day a little bit more. I feel like this could apply to any job also. If you are the type of person that like can't find a way to keep track of like your work or next steps or action items or things of that sort, just try an old school pen, paper, and a notebook, because for some reason it's magical and it just seems to be what keeps me on track. So that is my pro tip of the day. Really love a good notebook. Another thing that I figured we could chat about before my next call, because my next call is in 35 minutes, my last call got out a little bit early, is like certifications for project management, because I know that there are different certifications that you can get for project management, and I feel like when I was trying to get into the project management field, I didn't know whether or not like I 100% needed all these certifications to even get started in the field, or how any of that works. So I'll give you guys the tea. It's just like my personal experience, my personal career path. So this may vary depending on like your previous field, your previous job experience, the type of industry you're in, the type of job that you're going for. But I personally didn't need any certifications to get started in this field. With that being said, I do plan on getting my certifications sometime in the future. My company has actually agreed to pay for my PMP for me, which is really nice. So coming soon, I will be starting the PMP courses and getting PMP certified. Also, if you've been around for the vlogs for a while, I finished up my CAPM course several months ago, like back when I lived in Jersey City, and I just never took the CAPM exam. It kind of just got mushed in with life. I just have had a bunch of things going on, and the CAPM exam was not top of priority. But since my work has offered to pay for my PMP, I think that I'm just gonna completely do away with the CAPM exam and get my PMP. Also, these are a lot of acronyms. So CAPM exam is Certification of Associate Project Management, and PMP is like your actual project management certification. Both have different requirements. PMP is definitely harder to get if you don't have a ton of work experience and if you don't have a ton of project management experience. I think you need like a few years under your belt, if not more, to even apply for your PMP, whereas the CAPM exam, you don't need any work experience, I don't think. I think you can just take the course and take the exam and be certified. If you look at like job listings on LinkedIn, a lot of jobs just want you to have either or. So they want a CAPM certification or a PMP certification. I very rarely see job listings that are like, you need to have both or you need to have one of them. A lot of it is just like, oh, it'd be nice to have, but also if you have like the background experience of like an associate project management position or a project management position, I feel like the PMP isn't necessarily 100% required, although it does help open up your job search a little bit more, in my opinion. So I don't have either right now. I am planning on getting the PMP. I have taken the CAPM course, but we're just scratching it, and I'm just gonna go for the PMP because it holds a more significant weight than the CAPM exam. Also, I don't want to pay the CAPM exam out of pocket if my company is willing to pay for the PMP course and the PMP exam. That's where it currently stands. I do think that there are like statistics out there that say that when you're going for a project management job, having a PMP certification not only helps you get a more senior project management position, but also I think that the pay is more in a project management position if you have a PMP by like a good amount. So that's another incentive to get a PMP exam or like to get your CAPM certification, is that your salary in the long run will ultimately be more if you don't have either certifications, if that makes sense. And I only know this because I've just been doing a lot of research lately on like the PMP exam, where I would even want to take my online course, how it'll help me in the long run and things of that sort. Long story short, you don't need either to get started in the project management field, although I feel like once you get started in the project management field and you see yourself doing this in the long run, it definitely would be something that you would want to work towards. It's not a cheap exam and it's not a cheap course. I think it's like $1,000 course and then like a $300 to $500 exam. Like, it's not a cheap cert whatsoever, but I do think that a lot of companies will be willing to pay for it. Like, a lot of companies have education assistance and reimbursement policies, so just look up like what your company's certification reimbursement policy is and also your like education reimbursement policy is, because you may fall under that category and your company may be willing to either pay for part of it or the entire thing, which is really nice. That's my spiel on the certifications. That's such a big question, I feel like, getting started in this field. Whether or not you need those, whether or not it's required, I don't think it's required. I do think it's like good to have eventually in the long run. But also at the same time, if you've been applying for like junior project management roles, associate project management roles, or even like lower level project management roles, and you haven't had anyone kind of like bite, if you haven't had any companies accept your application or you're applying and you're not hearing back, I don't necessarily think it would be a bad thing to just try to get that certification to boost your resume a little bit more. I feel like it would give you a leg up against the rest of the competition. It's a little bit later. It's 1 o'clock my time, so it's 3 o'clock Eastern. I had 2 meetings that were canceled today. My 45-minute one about an hour ago, that got canceled, and then I just canceled my 1 o'clock. One thing about me is that if there's not a set agenda and if we don't have anything to talk about, we're not gonna have a meeting just for the sake of having a meeting. I will cancel the meeting, and I know a lot of people appreciate that, but that's just like a pro tip that I have. Always make sure there's an agenda for a call, because if there's not an agenda, there's no need for the meeting. Also, if there's an agenda and there's like one item, one question, can it be an email? So that's the rule of thumb that I live by, and I love it. I don't like having meetings when I don't need to have a meeting. So I just canceled my 1 o'clock. My next call is at 1:30. That one definitely will be happening. So I want to eat a little bit of lunch before I have my next call because I'm getting hungry. We had steak last night for dinner and we have leftovers. So I think I'm gonna have the leftover steak for lunch. I was also eating strawberries, which I need to put in the fridge. And then my workday will almost be over. After this next meeting, there's only an hour left of the workday, which is basically like my wrap-up time. Basically anything that I last minute need to do before the end of the workday, I'll do within the last hour or 30 minutes, depending on meetings. And I'll set myself up for success for tomorrow. Luckily for me, tomorrow's Friday. It's a very, very light day. I normally only have 1, maybe 2 calls on Fridays, so it's a very light, like wrap up the work week kind of day, which is always nice for Friday. I also have a friend coming in town tomorrow, so I'm excited that the work week is coming to an end soon. Let's heat this up and make some lunch. Last meeting of the day, we're taking it from the couch. In the bathroom because John is on his last call of the day and I just don't want to disturb him, so we're gonna wrap up this vlog here. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I feel like there's only like so much that I can film with the day in my life as a project manager without like telling you guys every detail about my job, but I hope it gave you some sort of insight, or at least you found it kind of interesting. With all that being said, my work day's over. I'm getting ready to go work out, and I wanted to end off the vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like and comment down below, and I will see you in the next vlog. Bye guys.